Hey y'all, this is Ed.
And this is Kara.
This is your day's dumpster fire,
where we don't celebrate humanity's successes,
but its most fantastic failures. Oh, I forgot to press the button.
I was just going to say, yay, we didn't botch it.
No, it's old school. We'll just keep doing what it was in the past. For those of you who listened to the last episode of Napoleon's atrocious dumpster fire, people would have noticed that our intro music was really, really shorter. It was really, really shorter. I don't know if that's grammatically correct.
'Tis not, but it's fine.
Really, really short.
There you go.
It's been shortified. Yeah, so we're just trying to like update things in the podcast, streamline stuff, make it quicker, get it so that we are talking like more into the task at hand. It's all about the Google clicks and search engine optimization. I've had people say that, oh, you should make sure that like you specify the mission statement of the podcast in the beginning and all that other fun stuff. So we're going to be changing the formula up a little bit. I don't know if it's going to work, but if we're up there with like Joe Rogan and we're making like, $20 million a year off of this, okay.
You could also just tell us if you like it better. Email us at today'sdumpsterfire@gmail.com.
Yes. Yeah. Or use that text message thing that you can click on and send us it like a text message. We won't be able to respond to it, but we can definitely get it, and it bypasses the whole email thing. It bypasses all that. So it literally does send us like a text message, and then we can give you like a huge shout out on upcoming episodes. Like, for example, Kane, how's it going, bro? Thanks for giving us an idea. He's proposing that we do Titanic.
I've been talking about doing Titanic for months.
Yeah. Only thing is that we wanted it. I feel like Titanic has been really done. Like, it is heavily covered.
Yeah, but if we want to do it, we want to do it. I don't think it matters. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't think it really matters either if we want to do it. I was just thinking, like, what kind of twist can we take on it? How can we look at it differently without diving into the really weird conspiracy theories? It was aliens.
So in that case, Kane, I will cover Titanic after I finish up my next one.
Yeah, and your next one is pretty heavy,
it's a doozy, which is why this episode is not my episode, but it's fine.
Yeah. No, this one is going to be a palate cleanser compared to last one. And, we've brought this up in the past where you can have a pretty severe major thing go wrong. And if it's far enough in the back, like in the past, it's funny. Mm-hmm. Right. And so like we've talked about all the grave robbers that, the Egyptians set up the Valley of the Kings, and these tombs were supposed to be impregnable, and they were supposed to have guards and all that stuff. And it turns out that the people that made the tombs just went in and just broke
destroyed.
In.
It was terrible.
Yeah, they just took everything. And today that's comical, but back then that would have been, heretical. And the same thing with like Napoleon's dumpster fire trying to invade Russia, where like we look at it and he really did think it out. He really did have a pretty solid plan getting in there. But it just turned out that Russia was going to fight this their way. Napoleon wasn't expecting that. And so we can just sit back and laugh at it. But then when we talk about more recent stuff that happened within the past 20 years, people die during dumpster fires, but it's too close to really joke about.
Yeah.
For example, like I've gotten quite a few people that asked me if we could do the Titan sub, and oh my goodness, I remember when that whole thing, and for the lack of better words, went down. Just that was probably one of the most memeified disasters.
Yeah, the internet really took it and ran.
Yeah, and to be honest, if I was one of those billionaires that was on board and people wanted to memeify me, okay, I guess I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
I mean,
fair.
Yeah. I mean, I put myself in that position.
Yeah,
but like when it comes to the more recent stuff, we have to be a little careful. For example, I am not touching 9/11.
No, yeah, I wouldn't touch 9/11 either.
Yeah, 9/11 would be really heavy. And then, just recent terrorist attacks, school shootings, stuff like that. Because I've had people ask me, like, when are we going to cover, like Sandy Hook and stuff like that. And they would be classified as dumpster fires, but I feel like it would almost be a tarnish on the victims that were there, that that obviously suffered or lost their lives during these events. I feel like just equating it to what they had going on as a dumpster fire is rude.
Yeah, there's a time gap that we need to be conscious of.
Yeah.
And also like a topic thing that we have to be conscious of, just to make sure that we're respectful towards everybody who is involved or people who have passed away from those recent events and things like that.
Yeah. And that's why the episode that I have in mind for today is a very, very unique episode, because it took place like 20 years ago, and it resulted in millions and millions of dollars worth of damage. And it's a pallet cleanser. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a pallet cleanser is because nobody died.
Perfect. That's what we're here for. There we go.
Yeah. So most of the people that were around back then during this crazy incident are still around today, and they're perfectly fine. And nobody has been permanently altered from this. Now, that's not to say that somebody could have died, but we'll get into that. And I don't know how to classify this dumpster fire, because again, we classify dumpster fire as you try to plan out everything so nothing could go wrong. And then moments after you implement this plan, it just goes awry. It just flies off the rails. This dumpster fire is a little weird. And when you look at it from the different perspectives, if you look at it from the perspective of the police, this was a dumpster fire because they were grossly unprepared to handle something like this. But if you are from the perspective of Marvin Heemeyer, the guy that instigated this whole thing and planned it out, he did a pretty good job. So, and it didn't really go wrong for him. He kind of clearly delivered the message that he was hoping to deliver. So I say we get into it. This episode, as you will see, it is Marv's big bulldozer of destruction. And it's one of those things where,
perfect,
if it happened today, given the political climate and all that kind of stuff, this guy would have been an absolute legend. And he was a bit of a legend back then amongst, weekend warriors, people that like to build crazy things and all that stuff. And unfortunately, I don't want to say nobody died in this case, and I kind of want to just do a trigger warning here. Our main character here, he does take his own life, so there will be mention of a suicide and all that. but that won't be closer to the end, but just wanted to put that out there. And that is the only loss in all this. So really what I want to dive into is Marvin Heemeyer and what happens when you think you are on the receiving end of gang stalking. And have you ever heard of that term before?
What is it?
So gang stalking is where sometimes it can be like legitimate, where there are people doing this to another person, but a lot of times it's kind of like self-perceived. Basically, gang stalking is where you think instead of one person that's targeting you, it's like an entire community. It's an entire town. It's everybody is plotting against you.
Got it.
And there's obviously cases where like something like this has actually happened. Like, for example, you could look at Oppenheimer, the whole thing after World War II. And just because he dated a communist girl in the past, he literally had like Congress coming after him. And, you know, you can make the argument that was gang stalking, and it really did kind of alter his career. In this case, good old Marvin here, it's really tough to tell what percent of this is perceived gang stalking versus what part of this is like an actual legitimate, the whole entire town is against him. And we'll start off here because it, like, if we're going to look at this in terms of gang stalking, you got to look at it in terms of where he's from and where did he end up. So Marvin Heemeyer, or Marv, that's what we called him for short, was born on October 28th, 1951 on a dairy farm in Castlewood, South Dakota. I tried to look up where Castlewood, South Dakota was, and I think Google had a hard time trying to find it.
Sweet.
Let's see here. Castlewood SD. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Okay, I did find it.
Is it tiny little itty bitty town?
Okay, it is on the eastern side. It's it looks like it's in the proximity. It's on the 29, which probably nobody knows about. It literally is a collection of farms, and it looks like this town has maybe 5 or 6 actual roads. It literally has this effect of like it's got like the stoplight.
Oh yeah, it's got that one stoplight, one high school, one elementary school, that type of thing.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because I'm looking at the schools here. It's Castlewood Schools, so it's got.
Yeah, I'm looking at it too. I think it's got everything from K to 12.
It's like pre-K through 12, and then it looks like it has a little field off to the side. And actually, it probably isn't a bad place to live. Like, I wouldn't mind retiring in a town like that. Just super small, you know, everything is, oh my gosh, I want to go to this place. All the kids look alike.
Everybody knows everybody.
I want to go, I don't know if you see this on the map, it's called Britches and Buckles.
That's actually the first thing my eyes went to when you went, oh my goodness.
I'm looking at a picture of it. It's literally just a house. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this guy, man, he's coming from small town America. It's South Dakota. There's nothing in the Dakotas. My daughter's best friend, I think they're from North Dakota. It's so funny because like in Arizona, when it gets cold, it's like 40, 50 degrees and they're just wearing like t-shirts. Whereas in North Dakota, when it gets cold, it is like 20 below. So South Dakota isn't a whole lot different. So yeah, Castlewood, South Dakota. And I could see why he moved out eventually. But yeah, no, his childhood was typical childhood of anyone living in a dairy farm in 1970s. 1974, he moved to the Lowry, I think it's Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado, because that's where he was stationed. He was in the Air Force. he had a knack for mechanical things. He was really good with his hands. He was a brilliant welder, as we will see here later on. And I guess he eventually puts together a muffler shop called Marv's Mufflers. And I guess at that time, like, you would have to weld. Like, you just didn't bolt on a new muffler. You had to cut it, you had to trim it, you had to weld stuff. Like, you just didn't slap one on. Like, back then you had to put a lot of work into it. That's probably still the case today. So yeah, he moved to Lowry Air Force Base in Colorado because he was there. And then 1989, Marv moved to Grand Lake, Colorado, which is about 16 miles outside of Granby, Colorado. Granby is an interesting place. That's where the setting for this story is going to take place. When I was working in trucking, I had a customer that was based out of Granby, and it was a recycler, and it was really interesting. There's something about Granby, Colorado, where the people there are hard. Like, they're just tough people. This guy was literally on the phone with me on his cell phone, standing outside of his house, trying to put together the load and like, where is it going and all that kind of stuff, while he was hosing down his house that was on fire. So he had a garden hose in one hand. He was on the cell phone on the other one, trying to book a load. It was actually trying to help out one of our drivers while his house was on fire, and you could hear the fire truck in the background spraying water on his house as well.
What excellent multitasking skills that guy has.
That was absolutely wild. That one is up there. I think there was that one incident where there was like a tornado outside of like Dallas, Texas or something like that, and there was a customer there who was trying to book a load with our trucking company, and I could hear the air sirens in the background as there was like a tornado approaching. So like, he was literally like, oh yeah, no, let's we'll pick it up here and we'll deliver over there, and the trailer will be filled with this and that. And I'm like, what? Do I hear sirens in the background? It's like, oh yeah, we just got a tornado on the way.
Sick.
What? Why are you on the phone with me? Okay. Well, I gotta get this picked up. Like, okay, well, here, I'll get a truck going and you just get out of there and then we'll sort it out later. Okay. Yeah. I mean, nothing stops for trucking.
Jeez.
But yeah, there's something about Granby that's just intense like that, as well, we'll see here in a little bit. So yeah, 89, he moved to Grand Lake, and then, he eventually moved to Granby, Colorado, and he set up his own muffler shop called Marv's Mufflers, and he gained a really good reputation. Marv was really liked, and small town America, if you are an outsider moving in, there's a process of people getting to know you. Like, you move to any small town, Arizona is like this, right? You move to, like, say, Alpine, which is a beautiful little town. But if you move in there, say, from Phoenix, everybody knows you're an outsider. Like, there's families that have been there since the 1800s. And, like, they won't have any animosity towards you, but they're also going to be like, oh, city slicker is moving in. And Marv was kind of like that, although I would hardly classify Castlewood, South Dakota as a city slicking town. It's more like a village, but he moved there and people really liked him right off the bat. And so he fit in. Okay. Yeah, I should really just tear up my English degree. I've completely forgotten how to English. Yep. I can read good and do other stuff good too.
No, you're fine. You're doing great.
With my tiny little Zoolander cell phone. Yeah. That's the positive assumptions we all look for. So, so everybody liked him. He was a pretty affable guy. He was really nice, outgoing. He kind of had a way with women. I want to say he was a womanizer, but he was very charismatic. On Thursdays, he had a club that would meet up at his house, and it started off obviously like one or two people, but then over the years, it ballooned to like half of Granby showing up, where they would just go snowmobiling. Like that was his thing. And he had people participating as young as like 15.
Sweet.
Going all the way up to like retirement age. And they would he would just go, snowmobiling all over the place. Colorado is good for that because during the winter it is, we remember that 70 during in trucking during the winter. That 70 was that got interesting. It was
just lots of snow, lots of ice. You wouldn't want to drive it.
No, you really want to drive it, and there's parts where you have to chain up all the time and whatnot.
Yeah, it's a good time.
So yeah, some days he would have like 4 dudes show up, and then other days it'd be like 24. And everybody called Marv. He had like a nickname. It was Marv Bumper, where he would take stock tubing and custom fit or / weld it to your snowmobile to reinforce it and make it stronger. So like he would basically put like a roll cage on your snowmobile. Just in case of those.
If that's not foreshadowing, I don't know what that
is. Yeah. Obviously we know ultimately it's going to involve a bulldozer. I just don't think you could really do as much damage as he did with a snowmobile. I could just see him just clunk, then back up, clunk. He's like trying to take out a Costco. But he,
right.
Pipe fitting is a very, very tricky welding skill to have. And so that's what he would do is he would take square tubing, round tubing, box tubing, and all that kind of stuff. And he would weld it together and he would modify these snowmobiles for people. For the most part, he was a pretty good businessman, especially with his muffler shop. He had a lot of good business. He was always considered a pretty successful guy, especially in the early 90s. And he was just a good old guy. And if you see a picture of him, you can tell like, oh, he's like, there's people that when you take a picture of him, like they're smiling, but it's a plastered on smile.
There are some people who take a picture and they give off a vibe.
Yes. And it could be a good vibe or a bad vibe. And you see a picture of Marv here and he's like, I would hang out with him. He's like the kind of guy that you'd have a beer with.
He just looks like a dude.
Yeah. Yep.
Just dude doing his thing.
Yep. Doing dude things with mufflers. Yep. I want to do a quick note about Granby. It is about 50, 60 miles west of Denver. And it is kind of in the middle. It's more, I would say it's more due west of Boulder, Colorado. So like, it looks like you go up to 25 and then you turn left on some street that takes you to Boulder. You keep going on that street and, about an hour or so later, you will hit Granby. So it is the epitome of small town. I guess the guy is from South Dakota. I mean, he knows small town. At the time, it only had a population of about 2,000 people, which is tiny.
It's pretty darn small.
Yeah. That's I don't want to say podunk, but that's definitely again, small town vibes. It was located in the middle of the mountains. So it was surrounded by mountains and it was actually a really good tourist spot. A lot of good snowboarding, snowmobiling, all that kind of stuff. So it would generate a lot of traffic in that regard. And so, the winters were also a little on the harsh side. 2 weeks out of the year, the temperatures wouldn't even get above 10 degrees Fahrenheit. So there's like always a 2-week period of the year where water like instantly freezes.
Sick.
And my mom would tell me, like, whenever they went up to, I think, Minnesota, there was a resort. They would go up there every once in a while. And of course, it would be like 10 degrees outside. The worst part of the day was sitting on the toilet seat.
I could believe that. Was that cold out?
Yeah.
I could see it.
Even when you had the heat on in your house, it was still butt cheeks on cold ceramic
porcelain.
Oh, nuh-uh.
Good time.
Yeah, maybe if you had a sunburn on your butt cheek, it would feel good, but otherwise,
yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure how you get a sunburn on your butt cheek in the middle of winter. I feel like there would have to
maybe a snow burn.
I guess. I feel like there would have to be alcohol involved.
Oh yeah, that's true.
To get like a good old fashioned cherry lobster red sunburn on your butt in the middle of winter, I feel like there would have to be copious amounts of alcohol involved, and even still, like you'd wake up the following morning and not even be like, what is going on with my butt? So yeah, Granby is considered like the epitome of small town. Granby is one of these locations where everybody knows everybody, kind of like what you mentioned about that Castlewood place. The governing board of Granby, can have like 10 people on it. All 10 people know each other. All 10 of them went to the same school. All their parents knew each other. They would have a family reunion, and their families are so interconnected that a family reunion just turns into like a county fair because everybody's related to somebody.
Sick.
Yeah, it's and it's tough to break into that, and it can be intimidating. Kind of like our class, where we don't have a mega huge class, but they're a very, very tight knit group of people, and and it can be intimidating trying to break into that. So I don't know how much of that Marv had to deal with, but it is a dynamic to just keep in the back of your mind. All right, the good old boys club. That one phrase that I know you don't like.
I don't care for it.
Yeah,
but it's all right.
It's one of those things where the good old boys club is just a fact of reality. But if you're not a part of it, it's really hard to be successful when the good old boys club is the thing that governs everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's McNarly in that regard. So 1992, a 2-acre plot of land opened up next to Marv's muffler shop. So this plot of land would kind of like, imagine this road, like a dirt road leading to Marv's muffler shop. And this 2-acre plot of land would have formed like just to the south of Marv's little plot for his muffler shop. So it would have gone to the south of it, and then it went to the left or to the west side of his shop or his property, and it crossed that road that would be the only way to get to Marv's shop. So it was this plot of land that came up for sale that if somebody bought it and somebody wanted to basically develop it, they could, in theory, cut Marv off from any way of getting there. From his perspective, I could see how like Marv would see this land auction being a literally a barrier for him. So the 2-acre plot of land opened up next to Marv's muffler shop that he intended to win. So Marv was at the auction. He wanted to ultimately buy this plot of land, and then he was going to lease it out to one of his friends that were intending to build like a repair shop. Marv won the property for a whopping $42,000, which okay, yeah, that's a decent price.
That's not bad.
And he beat out Cody Doshef. So the Doshef family is the main, probably the most prominent family in Granby. Granby. Oh my goodness.
There you go.
Yeah, it's late.
It's late.
Yeah, late and words are hard. So in Granby, like the Dosha family is kind of like if you read If you read The Crucible by Arthur Miller, it's the Putnam family that is the family that really has the biggest influence. And Cody Dochef is kind of like the patriarch. He was the main head of this prominent family in Granby, and he knew everybody and all the people that did all the certifications, all the people that did all the code checking to build stuff to code. He knew everybody on the board. I think he had served time on the town's board. It's just, he's just one of those guys where you say Cody and everybody in town knows who you're talking about, even if there's like 25 Codys.
Yeah.
Like, if you just say, oh, yeah, I talked to Cody the other day, like, people just automatically know. So, yeah, he also knew a lot of people that sat at county positions as well. So it wasn't just Granby. It was the whole county that he knew. According to Marv, so we don't have any confirmation on this because nobody else was there, but according to Marv, when he won that little 2-acre plot of land, Cody approached Marv and proceeded to like chew Marv out, like a really, really harsh talking to, whatever that looks like after you've lost an auction for 2 acres of land. But I guess from according to Marv, Cody went up to him, started berating him, and he was really, really upset that Marv bought the land from underneath him. Yeah, there was nobody present, but that, according to Marv, that is what happened, which that kind of puts the ball in Cody's yard, or the Dochef yard, as for why this feud started to begin. Started to begin. Oh man, I am just firing on all cylinders. Why this feud began.
There you go.
So the plot of land purchased was pretty much undeveloped except for a concrete slab and a giant cement mixing drum to contain sewage. So it's one of these things where Marv's muffler shop and all that stuff really wasn't connected to the sewage lines of the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I can kind of see why. He's kind of remote, and it would have taken some time and a lot of money to connect to it. So he got a cement mixing truck and he buried the cement mixer drum thingy, and that's where all your toilets flushed into. He basically turned it into a giant septic tank.
Yeah. It's great. That's gross.
I mean,
I mean, I understand septic tanks and the way they work, and I understand what he's trying to do, but it was just the image of a cement truck full of
poo
stuff.
Yep.
Yeah. In my brain.
Yeah.
And it just made me cringe.
I had the visualization of the cement truck driving down the road, and out of the back, like every time it hits a bump, it literally like just farts out poo water.
And it's spinning while it's going.
It's spinning. It's spraying water on it. You know how to keep it cool. So it's just
we got to make sure that the fertilizer is
you don't want
potent
to solidify on you.
Ew. So
could
gross.
you imagine calling in an order of concrete and they accidentally mix it up like with I need concrete, but then like here comes this cement truck that pulls up and they put the little guide ramps on it and everything, and they open it up and it's just sewage coming out for a foundation of a house. What this
God.
Somebody forgot to check a box on the paperwork for that one.
Oh, that's nasty.
But yeah, Marv, he just for simplicity's sake, he took the container drum. I don't know what those things are called, but he took the working end of a dump or of a concrete cement truck and proceeded to use that as a septic tank. And then what you do is you have people come out and they siphon it out.
Yeah.
So, hey man, that's the most American.
You got to do what you got to do.
It's the most American way of doing something. especially if it's held in with duct tape. That would be even better. Shortly after winning the land, Marv found himself in front of the city council, who told Marv that, and it's so funny because he had his muffler shop for a couple of years now. Nobody said anything about his cement truck septic system. And I do find it kind of strange that, like, right after Marv won that 2-acre plot of land that he kind of bought from, he just kind of swept in and got it from Cody, or prevented Cody from getting it. All of a sudden, he was in front of the board and he had to answer to why he didn't have sewage pipes laid down that fed into the city.
Okay.
So it's just like, hey, I won this plot of land, and this dough chef guy is like, okay. Let me make some phone calls to some of my friends, and now here's Marv, like,
here's some problems that now you have to figure out.
Yeah, that weren't ever a problem before. Yeah, they were like, you got to connect this to the main line, which is 150 yards away, and basically to properly put in a sewage line, it would have cost more than what the property was worth.
Yeah.
The chairman of the committee was Ron Thompson, who was the grandson of the original Thompson that had been in Granby since the beginning of the town. And the Thompsons were a very wealthy and influential family in the community. It is really sending out Crucible vibes, where you've got all these families that have known each other for decades and for generations, and they're living in close proximity. And if you're in, you're in. But if you're an outsider and they have a beef with you, there's nothing you can do. So Ron Thompson was also like best buddies with Cody Dough Chef. We're going to see that much of the leadership and influential people in the town all grew up together, and they were all very close. Like, literally every married couple were high school sweethearts.
Yeah.
It's
just the nature of the town.
Yeah. It's just, everybody knows each other, which is cool, but it's also, it has its downsides.
Yeah.
Marv ultimately declined to install a sewage line, and even refused to put in a septic tank because he felt that the sewage lines were supposed to be the purview of the government, even though installing a septic tank would be significantly cheaper. So here we start to see Marv kind of go down this path of, this is the job of the government, or this is somebody else's responsibility. This is not my thing. And I bet he was coming to that conclusion when he had been operating just fine for a few years now, and nobody said anything until now.
Yeah.
1997, the Dough Chef family made plans to expand their concrete batch plant, and they were buying up land around their plot of land, which also so happened to butt up against Marv's property. It was encouraged that the Dough Chef family offer to buy up Marv's property so that they can expand, but not expand in the direction of the private homes and hotels. So that was the other thing, is like they wanted to expand their little concrete manufacturing empire, but they couldn't. Obviously, people didn't want them expanding into residential areas or resort areas. So they had to like expand in the direction of Marv's muffler shop. And as you will see, that will cause problems. At first, Marv asked for $250,000 for them to buy that property that I think Marv spent like $42,000 for.
Mm-hmm.
He would have turned a nice little profit there. And then right at the last minute, he changed it. He's like, oh no, I want $350,000. And so then the Dough Chefs are like, oh, fine, whatever. And then right after that, he's like, oh no, I want $450,000. And eventually the Dough Chefs were like, screw this. The plans failed, and Marv was successful in stonewalling the Dough Chefs out of any progress that could potentially strangle Marv's little muffler shop. This wasn't going to stop the Dough Chefs from expanding at all costs, and Marv gathered a lot of support to his side. So He really did have that personality where he could persuade people, and he got a lot of people on his side to testify that the concrete plant would be loud, dirty, otherwise unwelcome to the community. Like, okay, all right. So it looks like Marv is, he's trying to play the game. He's playing the democracy game. The Doshevs responded to the concerns by promising to put in proper safeguards as well as other measures to reduce the concerns the surrounding homes had about the new construction. I don't know if you've ever spent any time near a concrete mixing plant. They are kind of loud. There's...
Yeah, that's fair, especially if you're thinking about a town this size. If you have a giant plant in a town that's pretty small, it's going to stand out and people are going to hear it a lot more than if you would be in a bigger city.
Yeah, exactly. And there's that phrase or that acronym in SimCity called NIMBY, which is NIMBY, which says not in my backyard.
Yeah.
Like, you could have a beautiful plot of land and a gorgeous house, and you've got like a 1 acre sized, forested or whatever backyard. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, somebody builds like a coal power plant.
Yeah.
About a half a mile away, and it's just spewing out black smoke.
And all you see now is smoke and the two spouts that the smoke is coming out of.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And it's really fast. It's like they plop it down and then it goes boom. And then next thing you know, there's a coal power plant in your backyard. Because that's exactly how SimCity works. For the 4 people that probably remember playing that game. So the Doshevs, yeah, they were like, okay, no, we will put the proper safeguards up. We will make sure that we don't make everything super tall and obnoxious and all that kind of stuff. And what makes it so loud is that you have to grind up that media, that dust that actually turns into cement. Like, you have to grind and mix all that stuff up. So they promised that they were going to do everything in their part to, make it so that it wasn't a huge eyesore. Later, a city clerk wrote a letter to the newspaper saying that Marv had a vendetta against the Doshev family by constantly having his land appraised and then the values jacked up to make it difficult for the Doshevs to proceed. So this reporter kind of spilled the beans. I'm like, oh, hey, drama in the Doshev Marv part of town. And as a result, this little op-ed quickly changed the opinion of the crowd, and soon Marv found himself alone and without any support. So again, like, okay, did this reporter have something against Marv? Did the Doshevs do something like the buddy system and, kind of made Marv's life a bit more difficult? I'm not sure, but I can kind of see how people could draw that conclusion because it only gets worse from here. By November of 2000, Marv filed a lawsuit against the Doshevs, trying to block the expansion by claiming that this concrete business would actually essentially block the access to his business. There was another way to get to the muffler shop, but you had to go really far out of route, and the roads weren't anywhere nearly, kept and all that kind of stuff. So I could kind of see Marv's point here. Like, hey, if you build this concrete plant here, that's good. Like, they're going to have to kill that road to like build a plant, and that's the only road that realistically gets to my business. I can kind of see.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. So
I can see the worry there.
Yeah, wholeheartly agree. Now, how you handle that worry,
right? That's the difference.
Yes, which we're getting kind of close to here. So the judge handling the case, a local journalist, and people inspecting the aerial photography all said that the expansion wouldn't hurt Marv's business. Again, I looked at a map of it. I'm not exactly sure I believe their assessment. But then again, though, we're also talking about a judge who's supposed to be impartial. They're like hunting buddies with Thompsons and the dough chefs and all that stuff. So they're going to say, oh yeah, no, it's fine. Even though from Marv's perspective, this could be a, like a noose around his business's neck. At this point, Marv believed that everybody was working against him. They were plotting against him. And this is tough. I don't know 100% what is true and what's not. I feel like at least organically, things were working against him. But in terms of like the dough chefs or the Thompsons or somebody twisting their Machiavelli mustache, with this grand scheme to once and for all do Marvin and ruin him and all that, I don't know if that was really the case.
No.
But then again, though, I can see it. I can kind of see where he's coming from.
I can see his perspective to a degree, but I don't think on the other side the intention was, oh, we don't like Marv, so we're gonna do what we can to screw him over, like personally.
Yeah, I don't think they were having meetings and like, oh, it's the anti-Marv club this afternoon and everybody's showing up and they're like, so who's gonna like ruin Marv's truck and who's gonna take their turn ruining his business and who's gonna take the turn to burn down his house? Like, I don't think there is anything.
No, to me it sounds more, it sounds a lot like gentrification.
Ooh.
Which we see more now than we did back in 2000. But
yeah,
to me, it sounds a lot like gentrification to where, okay, we're going to build all of these things around all of these other places that have been here for a long time.
Yeah, no, that's I completely forgot about that word. So that's one of those words that really summarizes what could go on here.
There's a lot of words that you can use. That one's a strong word. I'm not saying gentrification is what's happening here. I'm just saying it sounds similar to.
Yeah, no, I agree. So yeah, I think it was right around this part that Marv started to keep like a tape recorder journal. And after everything was said and done, they found all these tapes and like you can hear him start off normal and then over the course of weeks or months and even years he kind of spirals into like this conspiracy theory and people are out to get him, and then it eventually goes to like, I'm doing God's will, this plan that I have is an act of providence.
And he really spiraled a little bit, huh?
Yes. Yeah. And what I think causes that is extreme isolation. And it's not like he was isolated in terms of, he's in the middle of nowhere in a little log cabin. It's more, and I think this is worse, it's a social isolation where when you are around a large group of people and you feel like you can't connect with anybody.
Yeah, that's hard.
And and you're trying to piece together some sort of reality that would work. And I think what Marv did is he found God, like, oh, God's everywhere. God can be my friend. I will do all of this. And if it happens, then it's through God's will.
Yeah.
Kind of like you can make the argument that, all right, if there is a God, strike me down with lightning. It, it doesn't happen. Therefore, there's no God, but in reverse. In June of 2001, that was weird. I was a junior in high school in 2001.
I was 8 or 9. I was 9.
Okay. And I also realized too, this was just like 3 months before 9/11. It's just.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just weird. How far back this is, but anyways, Joe Dough Chef offered a deal to Marv, offering to allow Marv easement. I guess that's a realty term for giving Marv the ability to run sewage through the Dough Chef property, which would make Marv's life so much easier and cheaper. And basically, instead of having to run the sewage line all over the place, which would cost a huge fortune, the Dough Chefs were like, hey, bro, if you drop the lawsuit against us, we will even help you with the cost to run a sewage line under our property to help you get it connected to the rest of the city. Like, I think that's actually a good gesture. I think that is a reasonable gesture. Like, hey, drop the lawsuit and we will help you get your sewage line run and,
figure it out.
Yeah, like, and even the dough chefs needed their mufflers replaced. So they're like, hey, we work right next to a guy. And of course, in typical Marv fashion, at this time, because he's spiraling, Marv is hung up on dough chef. Okay. After Marv hung up on the offer, he proceeded to use a gasoline pump and pump his sewage into the irrigation ditch that ran behind his property.
Oh boy.
So he's literally
Marv.
Yeah.
Marvy buddy.
Yeah, he's making a lake of diarrhea. Yeah. Then he illegally tried to connect his sewage line to the neighbor's line where he was caught and fined $2,500. So he was caught like trying to hook a hose up to his neighbor's sewage line. I remember in the old days of cable television, people would open up those telephony boxes and they would put a coaxial splitter in there. And then, like, if you wanted cable television, all you had to do is open that thing up and you would have the coax cable just sitting there that had cable television with like 100 channels. And you literally just plugged it in to your house number and you had cable.
Sweet.
That you didn't have to pay for. Not that I ever did anything like that. I just read about it.
In a book?
Yes.
Or a magazine?
A book written by Henry David Thoreau. Yes.
Oh. That timeline doesn't work.
Yeah, we don't ask questions.
Okay.
Thoreau was very progressive when he was living.
He was very ahead of the times.
Yes, when he set up his little cabin by Walden Pond, he had it set up.
He hooked up his cable.
Yeah, he had coaxial cable running to it. Using a gasoline pump to pump his poo and sewage into an irrigation ditch behind the property. He then tried to illegally connect. He got caught, fined $2,500, which all this stuff is adding to his paranoia. That's
a literal poo show.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is.
The paranoia poo show.
I can only imagine my wife if she was doing this because she deals with like solid waste. I could only imagine getting that phone call like, whoa, who's using a gasoline pump to pump sewage into an irrigation ditch behind somebody's property? Oh, it's Marv? Got it. Okay. Yeah, we're good. We know what to do. It's good old Marv doing Marv things.
Oh, Marv.
Yeah, like I said, I see his perspective. I see his frustrations.
I saw his perspective for a little bit, but now I'm a little concerned about his response here. Yeah.
It's one of those things where you can judge somebody not so much in like the problems or challenges that they faced, but more how did they respond to those challenges.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And it seems like the dough chefs were kind of offering their like a peace offering. And
yeah, they're olive branch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're offering up their own poop shoots, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All that corn's got to go somewhere. Yeah, we've literally got a river of sewage being dumped into somebody else's property. Yeah, in November of 2001, Marv was found in contempt of court. I'm sorry, not contempt of court, contempt of town code, and was ordered to remove the cement barrel and fix the connection issues by July of 2003. So now we're kind of leaning towards things working against Marv, like actively working against him. Maybe it was because he just got busted too many times doing really shady stuff with his sewage. But again, now it's like the whole town board is like, no, Marv, you now have to fix this. Here's your deadline. And oh, by the way, nobody can inhabit your property until this is dealt with. So they basically shut him down.
Dang.
And and now I'm kind of like going back to Marv and be like, okay, that is like using the code, using the city's laws and regulations to kind of, screw somebody over. Like they weaponized the politics.
Yeah.
That was kind of it. And at this point, Marv was staunchly in the idea that the entire town was out to get him. Everyone was colluding to prevent Marv from operating. And at first, Marv agreed to the terms, but then immediately retracted his statement. A lawyer at the judgment heard Marv muttering as he's like walking out of the courtroom. Like he heard Marv just say under his breath, "I'm going to bulldozer this whole place to the ground."
Oh no.
And it's one of those statements where, you hear that like
it sounds like it could be a throwaway, he's just mad type of sentence.
But
he meant it.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking back at it, it sounded like he really meant it because
he's a man of his word.
Yeah. He had good integrity in that regard. If he said he was going to do something, the bulldozer. So maybe this is the real dumpster fire. But by now, he was firmly in the assumption that God is looking out for him, and he's going to build this bulldozer that is going to be able to show, like, put the Doe Chefs and the Thompsons and everybody in their place. And he's doing it because God wants them to learn a lesson. Great. Cool.
Okay.
Got God backing you up. And he also had made a purchase right around this time. And it was a very, very big and expensive purchase. And his idea was that he was going to get, he bought a Komatsu D355A bulldozer. He won it in an auction for $16,000. And this thing was a beast. So in the front of it had the bulldozer thing, like the big scoop. And then on the back side, he had it looks kind of like an upside down scorpion tail. And it's this giant hook-like thingy that just digs into the ground. And you can just tear up anything with it. You can rip out a road. What Marv was originally going to do with this D355A bulldozer was that he was going to use that feature and make his own sewage line. He was like, okay, I'm just going to do it myself.
I mean, I can kind of get that. Like,
yep.
That, I'll do it myself attitude. DIY it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And, since it was going to cost a fortune to do all that work or pay somebody else to do it, it's like, okay, fine. I'll just go get this giant bulldozer and I'll just do it myself. Now, this D355 bulldozer is a flippin' beast. Just on its own. 13 feet tall, 29 feet long. That's like the fuselage of, I think, like a fighter jet. It was 10 feet wide. It had a V8 turbocharged diesel engine with 410 horsepower. So this thing was not going to set any land speed records, but at the 5 miles an hour that it ran, nothing was going to stop it. Just the amount of torque that he had. It was 49 tons in weight. He added more stuff to it, which we'll get to. And to kind of put it into perspective, I'm going to reference your favorite movie of all time, Fury.
It's fine.
Yeah, I know. I know your stance on it. It's more of a visual thing than
it is.
Yeah,
I understand what they were trying to do. I understand the intention.
Yeah,
the execution could have been better. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, like it just doesn't vibe. And I agree, when you compare a movie like that to, say, like Saving Private Ryan, where there's such character development and like, but I mean,
it's also Spielberg, like,
yeah. So
that's kind of, anyway.
We've discussed this amongst other things in the past, but
we digress.
The only reason I'm bringing this next part up is because when I first read about this, like months ago, I had also just watched Fury. And so I'm like, wow, that bulldozer and a Tiger tank have a lot of similarities. So the German Tiger tank was the biggest tank in the German arsenal. I think it was the biggest tank in all of the war. It was 9 feet, 10 inches tall, so not quite 13 feet. It was 20 feet, 8.7 inches long. So it was a little shorter than this Komatsu. 11 feet, 8 inches wide. It had a V12 petrol engine, so it ran off of gasoline, and it was packing a wild 690 horsepower, and it weighed 57 tons in weight. So you kind of get an idea that this bulldozer was a tank. This thing was a beast, like, just compared to the biggest tank in World War II. And later on, after the events of everything, it was eventually called the Killdozer. And Netflix has a really good documentary on this whole incident. That it's like a movie length long documentary, and it does a really good job explaining like both sides, like both perspectives, and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, Killdozer, as it was called by the media, and then became known as the MK tank, or Marvin's Killdozer tank. And you're thinking, like, what? Why does this bulldozer? Why are they referencing a tank? Well, we'll get to that. So after the auction, Marv had the bulldozer shipped to his muffler shop, where he promptly displayed it in his parking lot, right in front of Doshev's cement business. So we think that he was sending a message to the Doshevs, like, keep doing what you're doing, and this bulldozer is coming your way. At the time he did that, though, he put his muffler shop and all of his purchased lands up for auction. So that should be a red flag there. Like, homeboy just bought a gigantic bulldozer, and now he's selling all of his properties. Sounds like this guy's looking for like a one-way ticket. Few things to note about the sale of his property. His land sold instantly. Sold in October of 2002. He got over $450,000 for everything, which was 10 times the amount of money that he originally spent a decade prior.
Wow.
That's, again, not a bad turnaround. Within 24 hours of the property sale, the new owners, I love the name of this. This sounds like a company that you would have been assigned to in trucking. It's called the Trash Company.
Oh, yeah, that's mine.
Like, well, there is no doubt in anybody's mind exactly what this company does.
It's straight to the point, and it tells you what it is.
Yeah.
So I can't knock them.
Yeah, no, I mean,
it's catchy. You know, I want to know what their slogan was.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Maybe it was like a little Cyclops thing with one eye.
No comment.
Yeah, we can't. I really can't get into that, but yeah. So the Trash Company, they bought it, and what's really funny is that within 24 hours of the property sale, the new owners, the Trash Company, was able to build a good connection to the sewer main without any issues.
Yeah.
So, like, if Marv had just done it, he would have been done in a day. But he was adamant, like, big government, big this and that. Like I said, this guy would be an icon today, given the political status of our nation. Like, the way that this guy thought, there's a lot of really wild conspiracy theories out there that he would have just fit right in with all that. The trash company got the sewage thing figured out within a day. Now, what is even more interesting to note is that Marv did take a small lease. So he sold all his lands, but then he also like took a lease on one of his old buildings. So he sold the building, and then he's like, oh, hey, can I rent my old building back? I've got something I need to take care of. And the way he worded it is like, I've got to finish up some final projects. He did try to put the thing up for sale. So the Bulldozer is for sale. He tried to get rid of it when everything was kind of falling apart, and he's like, well, I obviously can't lay a sewage line now because the whole town's against me. So he took it off of sale mode, taking it off of the market. There we go. And he took it off the market, and he leased out a workshop so he could finish up some projects. Meanwhile, the Bulldozer never sold. This was probably done on purpose. Marvin discovered that the Bulldozer was 1 inch short of the maximum length of his leased out garage. In other words, from tip to tail, he had 1 inch of spare room. Like,
that's
yeah. Now, when you think about
that's unfortunate.
Well, I don't think it really matters when we look at the modifications that he made to it, because you put anything greater than 1 inch on there and then it won't fit.
Right.
As we will see, Marv figures out a way. Marv took the failed sale of the Bulldozer as like a sign from God that he needed to go through with his plan. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I am going to buy a lottery ticket, and if I win it, then I know that is a sign from God that I need to buy a Ferrari.
Okay.
Yeah, it's that train of thought, which is like, what? Okay, I guess.
Okay. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, whatever floats your boat.
You sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, this Bulldozer barely fit inside of his garage, and for 18 months, Marvin, like Frankenstein, welded away in a leased out shop on a wild plot that would teach his enemies what would happen when someone is pushed too far. So for 18 months, I don't know about you, but I was thinking of a montage, like a time lapse.
Yeah, that's kind of how I thought about it.
Yeah, just
fast forward him welding a bunch of stuff on this thing.
Just all over the place, welding this and that, and then it will like slow down as he lowers a piece of metal in place, and then it picks back up again, and
you see the seasons go by.
Yeah. See the sun and the moon just like alternate, and so June 4th, 2004. It's a normal summer day in Granby, Colorado. People were going about their business. There was a library that was attached to the town hall, and there was a read aloud going on. So all these little kids were in this library, and there was some teacher reading out loud to the class. The Mountain Parks Concrete Facility, the dough chef owned establishment that so wronged Marv, that was like the bane of his existence. This concrete plant was producing, concrete.
Right.
Cody Dough Chef was on site managing for the manufacturing of concrete. Deputies Jim Craker, I think it's Craker, and Rich Garner were patrolling their usual routes. State patrollers Dave Batura, Jack DeSanti, and Mike McGinley were doing whatever it is that state troopers do.
State trooper things.
Yes. Yep. Pulling people over, giving tickets, checking.
Just doing their thing.
Yeah. Whatever occupies their day in a very, very, very small town. Lieutenant Walt Eldridge and Undersheriff Glenn Trainer. We'll hear a lot more from Trainer. We're on standby for any miscreants up to no good. Writers for I love the name of this newspaper. Writers and editors for the Sky High newspaper were wrapping up lunch. So like middle of the day. Folks at the Gamble's hardware store, they were just checking out, buying nuts and bolts and, hardware store stuff. I don't even know what that means, but yeah, the people were buying nuts and bolts. At around 2:20 p.m., 911 calls started to come in to like the one dispatcher in all of Granby. It's like the librarian that.
Oh no!
Like the dispatcher is a librarian volunteering. It's like, oh, I guess I'll do it Monday, and the whole town just rotates out. Yeah, 911 calls came pouring in, and something was happening that had never happened in Granby or anywhere else in the country for that matter. Under Sheriff Glenn Trainer was the first to be notified of a series of strange events taking place near the concrete plant. Deputies Jim Craker and Rich Garner responded immediately. I think they were closest, so they immediately headed over to the old muffler shop that was no more, and they got there first, followed by three more troopers, that Dave Petrera, Jack DeSanti, and Mike McGinley. Upon arrival, Craker and Garner saw something out of this world. Before them, at the Mountain Parks concrete plant, was a gigantic bulldozer plowing into the side of the administrative building over and over. So it was just crashing into it, backing up, changing angles a little bit, and then it was just full steam ahead and then crashing back into it.
Right.
But the issue was like the bulldozer was yellow, but it didn't look like a bulldozer. It barely resembled a bulldozer. It had the recognizable scoop thingy on the front, like you would expect a bulldozer to have, as well as like tank-like treads and stuff like that. But the top was completely encased in thick steel plates that were perfectly welded together, and they were airtight like a sarcophagus. Nobody was getting into this thing and nobody was getting out easily. So this whole bulldozer was just completely, at least the cockpit area and all that stuff was just completely encased in sheets of cold steel. To complicate matters, the bulldozer had extremely thick Lexan portals. So Lexan is the stuff that they make bulletproof glass out of. It's actually a fairly soft plastic, but it disperses bullet energy like crazy. So there were like little portals built into this monstrosity, and those were like 3-4 inch thick Lexan plates. So you could fire whatever gun you wanted at those things. That wasn't going to do anything. But the thing was like there was no viewports, like there was no windshield, and it was a mystery of like, how the heck is this? Whoever's operating this Demon Dozer. That would have been a really good name for it. The Demon Dozer.
Yeah, that's kind of nice. I like that.
Yeah, I like the sound of that.
Alliteration.
Yeah. Words. So yeah, like nobody could figure out, like, there was no windshield, and yes, there was those Lexan portals, but they were super tiny. The portals overlooked a series of turrets that were built into this thing, and there was 3 of them. And these Lexan portals were designed to help aim one of 3 guns that he had access to. The biggest one, the scariest one, was a 50 caliber semi-automatic rifle. So that's like those giant sniper rifles that you see in movies all over the place. Then he had a 30 caliber semi-automatic rifle. I think it may have been like a Ruger M14, but don't quote me on that. And then for that little cherry on top, that little added punch of power, he had a 22 caliber semi-automatic rifle sticking out of the port. So he had a little 22, just a little plinking, pew pew,
little BB gun,
pew, basically, yeah. So they noticed that the guns in these portals could be taken out and relocated inside pretty quickly. So needless to say, they were really worried about that 50 caliber. Nobody wants to get hit with that for obvious reasons, or the 30 cal for that matter. Not too many people.
Any gun, I feel.
Yeah, it's not like too many people were lining up to get shot by the 22. Like, it's just, don't want to be shot by any of it. But if I had a choice between the 22 or the 50 cal, I will take that 22 any day. But it was still crazy. It's like, how in the world was this guy being able to see? And this was a bit of a mystery. And we will see how the person operating this thing could steer. Craker and Garner noticed that Cody Dosheff was in his bulldozer. So he was in his own earth moving equipment trying to play chicken with the Killdozer.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and it was like a David and Goliath match. Like, there's videos of it. No comparison. That Komatsu was going to make very short work of whatever was in front of him. But in this case, David does not end up a hero or even a legend. The armored tank-like dozer made short work of Dosheff's as though it were a VW bug. Losing my voice now. The two deputies opened fire with an M14 and AR-15 rifles. So those are basically like those assault-style guns that is all over the news. But they might as well just been throwing rocks at it. Keep in mind, those guns, like those assault rifles, are shooting a 223. So it's a hair bigger than a 22. So it's not like a 223 is a very big bullet. It's just moving really fast. I think those bullets are moving like at 4,000 feet per second. When you think about it, in a second and a half, that bullet has already traveled well over a mile. That's moving. The two troopers did nothing to stop the dozer from committing a huge amount of damage to the concrete facility. There was an administrative building, thankfully. Nobody was hurt. Would have been interesting if you somehow got ran over by this bulldozer, because I think its top speed was like 4 miles an hour.
Sick.
So it's not like, it's not like a giant wall of cold molasses in winter, right?
Yeah, no, we have established that is actually faster than you would think.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of those. If they ever ask us, like, what was the one episode that kind of took us by surprise, it's going to be that molasses flood. I had no idea that molasses could do something like that. So nobody was getting hurt, just a ton of damage. The bulldozer stopped bulldozing the concrete plant and then turned its attention to the two deputies firing at it from behind concrete barriers. So like these two cops are just plinking away at it. And I was thinking of that scene from the first Deadpool movie where Deadpool's riding that Zamboni and there's that guy like crawling away on the ground and you hear Deadpool yelling like, to think you're going to die by a Zamboni in like 10 minutes. It's just puttering along. So yeah, they had plenty of time to run away, but the dozer just plowed right into the concrete barriers, just took them out. But those troopers, they got out of the way. Although they did say that so there's a little bit of debate out there of his exact intentions of did he actually want to kill people or just make a financial statement. Those cops believed that Marv was trying to kill them. So, but we'll never know. It was at this time that all the pieces of the puzzle could be pieced together. Looking at all the damage, it was discovered that the bulldozer had originated out of Heemeyer's or Marvin's workshop 100 yards away from the concrete plant. And how did he get this thing out of his workshop? Well, you see pictures of it. There is a perfect outline of a bulldozer hole in the side of his workshop, meaning he just went right through the wall.
I mean, kind of hard to miss that.
Yeah, and destruction was this thing's middle name. And but yeah, it was almost cartoonish. You see it, and it's got like almost a perfect silhouette, which is kind of funny.
It's like a Road Runner cartoon.
Yeah. I know. It's going to get exciting here. So.
No, it's not that. It's just that it's 11 o'clock at night.
I know. And God, we were so pathetic. Like I remember being able to stay up till like midnight every night.
Same. And get up at 6 a.m. and you're fine. I know.
Yeah. Now it's just like. I don't.
Age is here.
Yeah. We're getting old. Dang
it.
Yeah. Don't get old. It's a trap. So, all right, continuing on here now, Trainer. He shows up and he's trying to figure out what to do here. He pieced it together. Remember, Trainer was one of the guys that was kind of like just sitting in the police station. And yeah, after he pieced it together, he's like, oh my God, Marvin built an armor-plated battle tank dozer. And he was on a one-man mission to teach the town of Granby a huge lesson. Trainer arrived to support the two troopers that were there and quickly saw the futility of shooting at it. Like, people were firing their 9mm Glocks at it. Like, that's going to do something. It's like
just keep shooting it. It'll work.
I promise. Yeah. Something will make its way through and jack it up.
It's like the oil spill.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Just keep shooting it, blowing it up, light it on fire.
Bombs. Lots and lots of bombs. That'll fix it. This is kind of a bad deal. Marvin saw Trainer's 2000 Ford Expedition and proceeded to push it until it tipped over and then ran over the Expedition before moving on. Expeditions are big cars. Mm-hmm. And he was able to just push it to the point where it flipped over and then he just ran over it. Like, holy crap. Not one to give up, Trainer was able to climb onto the 13-foot tall bulldozer and hitch a ride as it was making its way through a grocery store parking lot. So
good.
Yeah, it's like taking up the curb. There's cars in the way. There's lights in the way. It's just as it's just plowing everything all over the place. Could you imagine being like the manager on duty at that grocery store and you just see this giant battle tank go through your parking lot? Like,
I
who do you email? Like, dear facilities, FYI, there's a 13-foot long battle tank dozer thing in our parking lot destroying cars. What do I fill out an incident report on?
Right. I would have to figure out how to take a picture to just prove it because it sounds so ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. It's like pics or it didn't happen. Now, what is interesting is that Trainer climbed up to this thing, but the whole outside of the bulldozer was covered in lube.
Okay.
Marvin covered the entire surface area of the dozer in lube and made it super slippery. So if you tried to climb up on it, you would just slide off.
Got it.
So Trainer was now riding the Diddy dozer.
You did not. Oh, no.
Alliteration.
Oh, no. I guess.
And I literally just pieced it together like 10 seconds ago. I'm like, I got it. It's the Diddy dozer.
I guess now we know what the baby oil was for.
Yeah. The 1,000 gallons of it. So yeah, basically Trainer was up there. Now he's covered in lube and he's trying to figure, like, he's walking around on this thing, trying to figure out a weakness somewhere on here. And that's where he noticed, like, why are there like security cameras on this thing? He thought that was kind of weird. Trainer saw a metal box and he just assumed that was the engine's radiator. So he decided to unload his gun into it. He fired into what he thought was the radiator. And the idea was, hey, you hit the radiator, coolant leaks out.
It'll overheat and then it'll stop.
Yeah. Exactly. But it didn't do anything. And Marv, with Trainer on top, was heading to downtown Granby. It turns out the thing that he was shooting at was actually the Bulldozer's AC unit. Yeah, it got pretty warm in there.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Now this is where it starts to get wild.
Because the giant tank bulldozer going through a parking lot's not wild.
No, it's not wild until it starts hitting stuff. And
I guess that's fair.
His next target was Town Hall.
Okay.
With the library attached to it, remember?
No, not the library.
Uh-huh. Full of like little kids.
It's always the libraries.
I know.
I don't understand.
I know, man. It's just yep.
All right.
Libraries just can't catch a break.
They can't.
Now, thankfully, I don't think this library was like the size of Alexandria's library, but you know, a library is a library.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's filled with people reading books.
Yes. Why? Anyway.
But yeah, no, he was determined that Town Hall was going to be next because, well, just think about it. Like, that's where a lot of the settings took place for his disputes. You know, because that's where the board met and he had to go before the board. And he kind of took his anger out on City Hall because that's where he felt like he was getting screwed over the most. And yeah, he just ripped off the whole front of the City Hall or the Town Hall. Everybody was essentially able to walk away from this thing. But it did cause the read aloud to have to stop, unfortunately. And
I mean, I would stop it too.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess it's kind of funny. And they're like, okay, kids, like there's a bulldozer coming this way. We need to get up and walk out in a single file line. And like, they're just walking out all nicely. And they're still probably walking faster than the bulldozer is moving.
Yeah.
They're just walking away from it. So yeah, those poor kids, they didn't get to finish their book. It's very traumatic.
That's unfortunate.
Yep. Trainer tried to fire his gun into the Lexan portals, but they just absorbed the bullets. He saw a forward-looking portal he figured would be the windshield and proceeded to dump 12 bullets into the bulletproof glass. And again, it did nothing. But he's like, hey, at least, you know, he can't see out. With no bullets or even a screwdriver to take the tank apart with, he jumped off onto the grass. And ultimately, Trainer fired like 37 rounds into the dozer's portals. And an officer threw a flashbang at Trainer where he tried dropping it down the exhaust pipe. So the exhaust pipe is actually not even a pipe. It's like a square tube that sticks out the top of it, and it's all reinforced with the steel plates. And he tried dropping a flashbang down the exhaust pipe, hoping to cause enough damage to the engine to make it shut down. Once Heemeyer or Marvin was done with the Town Hall, his next target was 300 yards down the I-40, where he damaged the garage doors of the Mountain Park's electric parking lot, and then swung around and destroyed the front of the building, which was containing the receptionist area.
Okay, it's not her fault that it couldn't fit in the garage, but
yeah.
Like, just
Trainer later said that he could not understand the rhyme or reason for attacking the Mountain Parks Electric Company, but he remembered that 2 of the Granby board members also worked there. So we're starting to see a pattern form here. Marvin was looking to take out the town's board members and potentially the people who may have wronged him. After the Mountain Park Electric Company got thoroughly wrecked, Marvin proceeded to plow down Maple Street builders, and using the plow essentially scooped up the company's pickup truck and then forced it through the front of the building. So he scooped up their company car and just rammed that company car through the front of the Mountain Park Electric. not Mountain Park Electric, the Maple Street builders.
Dang.
So now he's getting creative. He's doing
he's playing pool.
Yeah, he's
billiards.
Very capable of thinking on his feet, I guess you could say. By now, it seemed like the entire state of Colorado had been notified of this. Keep in mind, this whole thing only lasted for 2.5 hours. This wasn't an all-day thing. Sergeant Norm Rimmer, thinking of Red Dwarf, that funny British comedy show. One of the main characters is named Rimmer. He's a bit of a blowhard. But anyways, Norm Rimmer, who was in charge of the Grand County's Sheriff's 8-member SWAT team.
Aw.
Yep. So my guess is that SWAT team was probably this. They were the SWAT team. They were probably also the fire department. They were probably also the town's baseball team. And they were probably the ones that do renovations to the school. I feel like it's one of those situations where it's the same 8 people that do everything.
Gotta get the job done, I guess.
Yeah, multitask. Yeah, the Grand County Sheriff's 8-member SWAT team arrived and began working on a strategy to disable the dozer. So there's videos of this where you can literally see them in a huddle, talking. Meanwhile, there's this giant bulldozer going down the road. They had the ability to have a confab in the middle of all this destruction because they know it's going to take time for him to get to the next location.
Right.
Deputy Jim Campbell activated the reverse 911 system. I had no idea this is a thing. So I guess the reverse 911 system is where instead of you and I calling into 911 because we're seeing something crazy happen, instead 911 calls us to let us know that there's something crazy going on.
Okay.
Because now that they got an idea of the pattern, took out the concrete company, took out the electric company, took out town hall, he took out the this Maple Street builders. He's going after everybody that has a business as well as being on the board.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the motive here.
Yeah.
So yeah, they were starting to notify 911 was starting to notify people hey, big giant angry bulldozer coming your way and get out. And I think if Marvin was bent on taking lives, this reverse 911 thing did its job and saved everybody's life. No matter what, though, people were getting phone calls about an angry, rabid bulldozer coming their way, so they had to walk away. Meanwhile, deputies Ryan Phillips, Roy Ibarra, Sean Curran, Steve Gilman, Brett Schrotlin, Dodd Jacobson. Now that's a name, Dodd. It's like a misspelled Todd. And then another one that's interesting is Bus Worm. Okay. Terry Marchbanks and Steve Holland, as well as the Grand County's Sheriff's investigator, Leo Piechocki. Sure. They arrived and they were not working. So now we've got SWAT team. We've got police officers. We got deputy sheriffs. We've got all of these guys that are now here. Like there's a lot of people, and you see videos of it. There are a lot of people all firing whatever they have at this thing. Marvin, drove around the back of the town hall and flattened the playground. I guess the playground wronged him at some point in time.
Sure.
That jerk seesaw, I'll teach it a lesson.
Right.
He took out some trees because, trees. Some of these...
They're in the way.
Yeah. And some of these trees were like 2-3 feet in diameter, and he just ran them over.
That sucks.
Yeah, it's just like, holy crap.
That's old trees.
Yeah, old trees, and just the amount of power that this thing has. After the playground, Marvin decided to hit up the town hall parking garage and destroy some cars before heading back to the town hall to inflict more damage. So now he's like, well, parking garage's got to go. The main entrance was okay, but the rest of the building was heavily damaged, and the roof was starting to cave in the center. So now this thing just wasn't safe, period. And this thing had so much power that it would bulldoze its way into like the middle of a building, and then the whole thing would just collapse on it, but he still had enough power to back out.
Jeez.
Bear with me here. I'm trying to keep from losing my voice.
You're good.
So yeah, did more damage now to a parking garage and did more damage to the town hall. When Marvin finished up the town hall, he drove to the town's stoplight, where he drove into the front pillars of the Liberty Savings Bank before backing up and taking out the only stoplight.
That's a bummer.
Yeah.
Like, not the stoplight.
But now could you imagine what traffic's going to be like after that?
It's going to be terrible. It's like Carmageddon.
Yo, it's going to be like Mad Max out there. Just pure chaos without that stoplight.
We need the organization here, pal.
As well as the trees.
Civilization.
Yeah, and the pillars to the bank. Yeah.
Yeah.
Got to have those pillars. Where he drove into the front pillars of the Liberty Savings Bank before taking out the stoplight. While he was heading to and damaging the bank, state troopers tried to shoot up the dozer's hydraulics on the underside using shotguns loaded with barricade penetrating rounds, as well as double-aught buckshot, and nothing worked.
Man. His handiwork's actually rather impressive.
What's that? Oh.
His handiwork's actually impressive. Like,
yeah.
I gotta give him that.
I'm right there with you.
It sucks that he's destroying the entire town. That's a bummer.
Yeah.
But man.
And like once they get inside, like once they crack this thing open and they look inside, it's even more impressive what he was able to do. So, double-aught buck is a 30 caliber pellet. And usually like there's 12 to 14 of these pellets in there. Double-aught buck is absolutely a horrendous round. This is the thing that you would use to stop a bear. It is that powerful. And it was doing nothing. Like nothing was working on the bulldozer. Now that Marvin was more or less in the center of Granby, he drove into the Sky High newspaper building. The editors, Patrick Bauer and Harry Williamson, were inside when they got the notification from the reverse 911 of Marvin's trajectory. They're like, hey, I think they're coming for you guys, because remember, there was that reporter that wrote that op-ed about Marvin's issues, like the realty issues, and that guy wrote that article, which then persuaded the entire town. Instead of supporting Marvin, now they hated him. So that's the reason why the newspaper building is being taken out. And this is kind of sad because Marvin destroyed a majority of that printing press or the building, but he kind of got stuck on the printing press. That was the one thing that he couldn't like push over, because it was anchored into the ground, and it's a printing press. The printing press is the same size as the dozer. So
yeah.
The only downside is that it took out that printing press, which also supplied the printed newsprint for like 6 other magazines and newspapers. Yeah. And so this was like a very used part of town, and now that was destroyed. But yeah, both men were able to escape. So they ran out the back door, and of course they had their cameras and stuff like that. And so they were trying to take pictures of it, and they actually got video of big old bulldozer going down the street. What is interesting is that people were in hiding, but they were more worried about being shot up. But Marvin really didn't shoot anybody. Like, he could have, but he didn't, which begs the question, was he trying to be homicidal or not? So yeah, I got stuck in the process of trying to destroy the printing press as it was anchored to the ground so well that it stops Marvin literally in his tracks. And however, damage was done. The 6 newspapers now, or the 6 publications, were going to be screwed for a while. Marvin then thought it prudent to exact revenge on the Thompson clan and drove across from Excel Energy Building and hit the Thompson and Sons excavating headquarters, which was the family business of former Mayor Dick Thompson. And Thompson was good buddies with the dough chefs, so it made perfect sense. Let's go take out the Thompson business. To really drive the point home, so to speak, Marvin ran over Dick's house. So he went to Dick's house, and Dick had died a little prior, and his wife was widowed and old and decrepit, and her daughter had to run out at the last minute so they didn't get destroyed.
That's kind of messed up, man.
Yeah. Again, the jury's out. Is like, did he really try to kill people or what? Nobody died, but we'll never know.
Yeah.
And then he headed over to the family business. Yeah, destroyed that building. The Grand County's road and bridge director, Clark Brandstetter, tried to stop Marvin at the Excel property with a county-owned earth mover, but Marvin Doe's bulldozer made short work of that as well. And this was a big piece of equipment, but nothing compared to that Komatsu. Brett Howcroft, who was an employee at the nearby independent gas company, tried using a 20-pound propane tank and hose to pump propane into the bulldozer's air intake. This is a pretty clever idea. The idea was that the engine would rev up because it's pulling in air plus propane, and then it's being burned. And yeah, the idea is that it would cause the engine to basically blow up. That didn't work because that would be too easy. In a way, thankfully, this didn't work, because if it did blow up, Howcroft would have been taken out in the process. While in the area of the independent gas company, Marvin used a 50 caliber rifle to punch holes in the sides of large propane tanks. So you've seen those giant, like 32-foot long propane tanks that hold like 1 billion gallons of propane. He tried taking shots at that to punch holes into it and try to make it explode. Yeah, he did poke holes in the propane tanks, and then right next to it, he tried shooting out like a power transformer to throw sparks. Really came to fruition, thankfully, because that would have been like a small nuclear blast.
Yeah, that would have been a big explosion.
Yeah, I think the proper term is called a blevy or something of that nature. So yeah, it would have been like a mushroom cloud and all sorts of stuff. So thankfully, Marvin missed like every time. Frustrated that he couldn't reenact the propane-induced nuclear explosion of Trinity, New Mexico, Marvin headed towards the town again. However, it was becoming evident that the dozer was starting to have issues. Giant plumes of black smoke were coming out of the exhaust pipe. That's usually a bad deal. Stuff was leaking out of it left and right because, it's a bulldozer, but it's not designed to be running through buildings left and right. Kremlin police officer Scott Spade brought out his 50 caliber BMG with armor piercing rounds and fired 6 shots into the dozer. The rounds just bounced off. Like, what?
What kind of metal is he using? My goodness.
He's using just good old-fashioned steel.
Interesting.
He made a modification that was really effective, and we'll get to that here shortly. At this point, authorities were at a loss. They had no idea what to do. The only thing they could figure out was like, okay, National Guard / Air Force, send a fighter jet over here and drop a bomb on it.
See, it's the oil spill. We're just going to keep shooting it and dropping bombs on it.
Yes.
Until it stops.
Yep. They were going to try to blow it up with a bomb. But here's an interesting problem. The National Guard, didn't respond to the messages for well after the whole incident ended. But I guess constitutionally, a military vehicle cannot open fire on civilians when there is no war going on.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah, because you don't want the military to just start bombing civilians left and right.
Yeah, that's a bad deal.
And then I have to imagine that when it was getting to this point where calling the Air Force, I'm sure people were calling into the governor by now. Even though the military couldn't help out, Marvin's escapade was about to come to an end. It was evident now that the bulldozer was struggling to stay running. There was many times where we had to literally turn it off and turn it back on again. And this was all due to one collision after another. Marvin drove past the 7-Eleven and clipped the front of, love this, the copycat copying business.
Small towns and their business names, keep it at it. They're great. We love them.
Yes, and it's spelled KOPY space KAT.
See, it just adds to the character. This is good.
Yep. The
good
one
job.
Place, yeah, the one place that actually had a paper copier.
Yeah.
However, though, his real target was that hardware store where people were buying hardware. Gamble's was owned by Casey Farrell, who was a former Granby town board member that Marvin naturally had a beef with, all the board members.
Right.
With hydraulic fluid and coolant leaking everywhere, Marvin drove headfirst into Gamble's with everything the dozer had left. And Marvin essentially destroyed most of the store in this attack, but forgot one little detail. Gamble's was a store that sat over a basement. I'm pretty certain the floors of that hardware store were not reinforced to handle, 40 tons of weight.
Yeah.
So this was almost like one of those false trap or one of those false floor traps that you see in Vietnam, where they just have sticks and leaves. And once you step foot on it, you fall in, and they got those little sticks that are pointing up. That's kind of what this was. And basically the dozer got up there and it just went, and it just fell into this 10-foot hole. And at that point, it was done. It couldn't back out. It was too heavily damaged. And that brought the end of the Killdozer, which only lasted, even if I factor in the concrete plant and everything, it was only a 2 to 2.5 hour long thing. So again, this wasn't a massively long ordeal.
I don't think that bulldozer could have lasted that long.
No. And that was it. Brandstetter was quick to arrive with another large earth mover and he parked it right up behind Marvin. Just in case this thing came back to life, they wanted it to block it off. So, that's a sound move. I can get it. That. Once the dozer died, every authority in the region just descended on, this demon dozer, so to speak. And everybody was coming in. They all wanted a piece of the guy that ruined their entire afternoon.
Along with all of the buildings and businesses and parking lots, homes.
The entire town had 4,000 people that were really, really pissed right now. And they wanted a piece of this. Norm Rimmer, the super hardcore tactical SWAT team leader, was on the dozer as people were trying to crack it open, because when Marvin got in, he actually lowered the lid down using a chain crane and basically sealed himself inside. During all this, when they were getting ready to work on it, they heard one gunshot and everybody stopped and they're like, okay, he took his own life. I'm not too sure. This is one of these situations. I'm not too sure what the end game was. When do you actually stop? When there's nothing left of the town, or destroy 10 buildings and then just be okay, I surrender? We don't know. We don't know what his actual end game was. So yes, they just assumed, but they also were kind of worried for the aftermath. Given the amount of work that he put into creating an arming this bulldozer, the jury was still out on what was potentially inside. They were like, okay, if Marvin put this much work into making it an unimpregnable rolling fortress, then is there going to be a booby trap inside? As soon as somebody takes the lid off of it, is there going to be 50 pounds of C4 in there that will go off? That's a valid concern.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense as to why you would worry about that.
The scene quickly resembled what it would look like if a UFO crash landed in the middle of Granby. Every authority in the state seemed to arrive on top of the local authorities. So we have the Grand County Sheriff's deputies, the Colorado State Patrol Troopers, the SWAT teams from Jefferson, Larimer, and Denver's Federal Heights, Summit County Sheriff and several deputies, law enforcement officers from the Rocky Mountain National Park and the U.S. Forest Service. So
the park rangers are here.
Yep. You got Ranger Rick out there getting ready to do something, and the Colorado Division of Wildlife. So game and fish officers are out there.
I mean, hey, you got to bring everybody in. The thing.
Agents from the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, that's Colorado's state form of the FBI. Agents from the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, so ATF was there.
I mean, that one kind of makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, because there's firearms involved.
Yeah, lots of them.
Yeah, and one big tank that wasn't used for its intended purpose. Right. Grand County EMSs, firemen from Granby Fire Department and East Grand Fire Department, and let's not forget Colorado Governor Bill Owens and Granby Mayor Ted Wang.
Nice.
Yes, solid group of people here.
Big team of peeps holding it down.
Yes, yeah, because Ted Wang is gonna really.
He's the guy who's got to make some decisions.
Let's just say he's really gonna wing it.
Oh no! That was the dad joke of the night right there.
Yeah, that was pretty bad. I'm sorry. We do like dad jokes, so
I love dad jokes, so I'm okay with it.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll roll with it. So at 10:42 p.m., everyone was pulled back another block as a bomb squad attached an explosive to the tracks of the dozer. The idea was we're going to blow the tracks off this thing. again, just in case it, Marvin is alive in there and he decides to bring this thing back to life after it had cooled down. And just in case he was playing possum. Eventually, at around 1 a.m., firemen started to cut their way in using all sorts of torches and other mechanisms. And by 2 a.m., they were able to get in and see the body of a very much dead Marvin Heemeyer with a bullet wound to his head via a .357 Magnum pistol that he was carrying with him the entire time. A .357 is a very, very unique gun in that it has so much power that it has like a 100% stopping capability. Meaning, if you get shot with a 9mm, you could probably still keep going, like pursuing somebody. But if you're hit with a .357 anywhere in the body, you're done. You're not moving much anymore. And if you get hit in the head, it's not going to be. It's going to be ugly. So now that they got in, some mysterious mysteries. Yeah, mysterious mysteries they got answers. How did he steer? Well, instead of just looking out the Lexan windows or those little portals, he actually put CCTV video cameras around the perimeter of the bulldozer. And he was able to position those cameras so that they could see on a television what was going on around him, which that's pretty clever. Like I'm handing it to the guy. Probably the craziest addition or modification that he made is what you were wondering, like how in the world did this guy like make it so that this tank was bulletproof to the extent that it was? Well, the tank addition was a double hull. So he had the normal body of the bulldozer, and then he basically welded on a layer of like 1-inch thick steel plates. And then he put a second shell around it about 6 inches away. And that left a hollow cavity where he then filled it full of cement. So you had, I got a burp just right around the corner trying to prevent throwing up all over in your ear. You had the outer hull, then you had 6 inches of concrete, and the outer hull was made out of 1-inch thick steel. Then you had the your concrete, 6 inches of concrete, and then you had another inch layer of more steel, and then you had the dozer's exterior.
Jeez.
So he had basically 8 to 9 inches thick of some serious armor plating on this thing. And that's the reason why bullets were bouncing off.
Yeah.
Sorry. So yeah, concrete doesn't really it's not a very hard substance, but it does, like when you hit it, it transfers energy over a large surface area, which makes it bulletproof. Heemeyer was set up to carry out his rampage for a very, very long time. His 90-minute terror streak seemed like an eternity to those that were present, but in the grand scheme of things, if that engine didn't die on him, the rampage could have lasted a lot longer. They discovered, they found that he had like days and days of food in there. So he fortified it, and then he had a whole bunch of food inside the cockpit of this thing, even a bathroom. So yeah, he again, this is like, you see where I'm coming from? Like, how is this a dumpster fire? Because he thought it out and he kind of accomplished what he was hoping to do. But then again, now, if you look at it from the perspective of Granby, this is a dumpster fire of all dumpster fires.
It's a mess.
A huge mess. So they got to the workshop and they found more interesting stuff there. Marvin was apparently living and breathing this project for about 90, it was 180. Yeah, we'll go with that. His infatuation with the project was confirmed when they found the tapes. So they had all those audio recordings that he made.
Okay.
And you can listen to them. They're not like creepy or anything. They're just like, well, I reckon I'm going to go put these plates on and, people are going to ask me, why did I do this? And it's because I'm doing God's will. And, it wasn't like a Heaven's Gate type of recording, which is really, really creepy. It's just him just talking into the microphone and just explaining why he's doing what he's doing. So, he got to the point where so they could listen to the early recordings all the way up to the present. So he got to the point where he felt that he was doing God's will and that what he was planning to do was considered justice and fair under the belief structure of God. Some questions remain though. Why couldn't Marvin work through these emotional issues? Really, bro? You couldn't talk to somebody? You couldn't see a therapist?
Like you couldn't figure this out?
Yeah, it's like,
now, to be
why?
fair, it is 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And mental health was not something that people accepted.
Yep. It was coming around.
It was coming around, yeah.
Definitely better in 2000 than it was in, say, like the 50s and 60s. But you're right.
100%. Which is not what it is now.
Exactly.
Either.
Yes. Why couldn't he work through it? What degree is this mental breakdown was attributed to the mental disorder and the machinations of the town? Mm-hmm. So this kind of goes back to the nature versus nurture thing. How much of this was like biologically programmed into Marvin's brain, and how much of this was the nature part of it, where you've got the town, whether advertently or inadvertently, conspiring against him.
Right.
Or they're just trying to make his life difficult, and they succeeded. And then probably the biggest one was, Marvin really set out to kill people. That was what was on everybody's mind. No one got hurt during the whole situation, and he had access to multiple guns. So he could have shot a lot of people, but he chose not to. If he was truly going to kill people, I feel like he would have done it. Like,
yeah,
straight up, like gunmen at the Austin, Texas college from, I think, the 70s, where he got up to that bell tower and started shooting everybody. Mm-hmm. I feel like if he was going to truly kill somebody, he would have done it.
Yeah.
However, he was in a bulldozer and he was aiming for people. They got away. Who knows what his intentions were there? In the end, there are so many questions that we'll never get the answers to, but the lesson we can take away from this ordeal is to never live your life thinking that everyone is out to get you. And also, don't live your life in such a way that it makes people forget not only everyone is out there to get you. So don't live your life that makes people forget not everyone is out there to get you. If that logic tracks. Like, don't think people are out to get you, and don't live your life in such a way that makes people think that, like, okay, everybody's out to get them.
Oh, got it.
Yep. And then ultimately, what was happened to the bulldozer? Well, it was removed. I don't know how they moved that thing. Like, how did they get it out of the basement? If I was the owner of that property, I'd be like, nope, keep the bulldozer there. I want to build like a museum around it. You're like an oddity museum. Here's my tank dozer.
There you go.
It's like, it's like the world's largest ball of yarn, world's largest frying pan, and the little dozer that could. So it was removed, torn down to bits and pieces, and melted for scrap. The incident had on the Americans at that time was interesting. Many Americans viewed Marvin as like a bit of a legend. Like, he came kind of like the poster child of the Republicans, like a guy that's not afraid to stick it to the man. He was kind of an underdog character, right? One little guy against this massive machination of a government agency bent on control and destruction of people's free will. And it seems as though that Marvin could make a comeback in this day and age. Like, if there was another one that took place, I feel like he would be well received by a great deal of people out there that are kind of conspiratorial. So who knows what the next Heemeyer or Marvin will do, or what that act will look like, or what will be his MO. But that's going to be a story for another day when that actually happens and we can add it to the podcast. So I got a bunch of pictures here. We will get these loaded up onto the website. I'll quickly go over because I think, Kara, you are like taping your eyes open. Be sure to...
I'm doing my best.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Be sure to head to our website, thedaysdumpsterfire.com. We are doing some updating on it, but yeah, go check it out. There you'll see a lot of Kara's work. We have some further descriptions and more background information on our dumpster fires. You can also shoot us an email at thedumpsterfire@gmail.com. Be sure to take some time, do a little homework, find people who listen to podcasts and get them onto the show. And if you're not sure if you listen to podcasts, then teach them. Especially the best people to talk to about like podcasting are people with long commutes. My brother's brother-in-law is in town. He's flying all over the country, gone to like seminars and training courses and whatnot. And he's always listening to podcasts. He's the perfect candidate, and he's real big into history and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, don't be afraid to look at your loved ones and be like, you know what? You could probably benefit from this podcast. You could really take a lot out of this, especially if you've got people with self-esteem issues. If they're worried that they're going to make one little mistake and then everything's going to fall apart, we have a podcast that really goes into great detail of people that had it way, way worse, right? It's not every day that somebody sinks like half the British Navy in one day. Like that is a career-ending dumpster fire. So go out there, find people that like to listen to podcasts or could benefit from it, and send them our way. So that's all I got, Kara. Do you have anything you wanted to add to my spiel?
I don't think so. I think that's all the housekeeping we have. Granted, I'm really tired. So
it is. It's like almost midnight right now, which is like 8 hours past our bedtime.
That's facts. We're doing great over here. But
so yeah,
I'm all good.
Yep. Hope you guys enjoyed it. And until next time, I say keep it a hot mess.
Thanks for listening.